Discover the shocking truth of Deuteronomy, a dark revelation you've never heard. In a town where whispers turned into storms, something sinister twisted its way through the pages of ancient text, igniting a fire that would engulf hearts and unravel minds. Deuteronomy wasn't just a book, it was a Pandora's box of secrets, hidden for ages, just waiting for the right set of eyes to uncover its fearful truths. Underneath its dusty cover lay tales of wrath and vengeance that sent shivers down the spines of scholars and sinners alike. And that's just the beginning. The night was thick with tension as Marissa stumbled across an old leather-bound book at the back of an eerie little bookstore that somehow escaped time. Its pages, yellowed and worn, flaked like old paint, and every word pulsated with an energy that felt alive, almost hungry. Just reading those words felt like putting on a heavy coat woven from darkness itself. Her hands trembled as she brushed over a passage that spoke of ancient curses, the kind that could reach across centuries and twist the fate of anyone who dared to understand them. Breath held tight in her chest, she felt the air shift, almost as if the shadows were stretching and straining to warn her. Outside, a thunderstorm brewed, and the wind howled like an unearthly creature, rattling the windows of her mind. The longer she stared at those lines, the more her skin prickled with an unsettling thrill, pulling her deeper into a legacy that throbbed with promises of peril. What sent the hairs on the back of her neck rising, though, was the mention of a prophecy. The chosen one, it read, will awaken the forgotten and bear the weight of retribution. Her heart raced, the lump in her throat growing heavier with every letter she read. Was she somehow entangled in this prophecy? The thought hit her harder than a fist. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the thunder cracked loud enough to shake her bones, Marissa flipped through the fragile pages, her fingers skimming over warning after warning, each one more alarming than the last. The voices in her head grew frantic, screaming that something was coming, something dark that had been waiting, just biding its time. She couldn't just put the book down. She had to know. Outside, rain lashed violently against the world, but inside, it was just her and the secret screaming for release. What if it's true? She wondered, a shiver of exhilaration and fear dancing down her spine. Would she be the one to either save the world or doom it? Her heart pounded louder, and she knew the answer was just a page away, one that would connect her present with terrifying echoes from the past. But would she dare to turn it? With resolve stitching her nerves together, Marissa took a deep breath and turned the fragile page. A gust of wind whistled through the bookstore, sending a shiver spiraling up her back as if the very world outside was warning her to turn back. But she wasn't the type to back down from a fight that much she knew. Her eyes flickered over the text, and a harrowing passage caught her attention. It described a ritual, the ritual of the chosen one, a dark ceremony that summoned entities from ancient depths. Their voices shall echo in the minds of the living, twisting reality into anguish. Each word dripped with a heavy dread, and she could almost hear the whispers swirling around her. Marissa rubbed her temples, frustration tugging at her. What if this all pointed to her? Was she the one destined to rewrite this frightening history? Sweat gathered in her palms, and she felt that suffocating weight bearing down. The air thickened, each drop of rain outside becoming a heartbeat echoing the punch of her anxious thoughts. She glanced out the window. The storm had grown fiercer, dark clouds swirling like an ominous blanket overhead. Something stirred in her gut, an inexplicable connection drawing her toward the shadows lurking beyond the glass. What if she was merely a pawn, a piece in someone else's twisted game? With a firm tap, the book's spine creaked, its way of deciding she would not remain ignorant. She flicked her gaze back to the pages. Surprisingly, there was a segment that spoke of the power to break the curse, a choice that could close the gateway of terror forever or unleash it upon the world. A single sentence struck her with the force of lightning: only the blood of the chosen may provide salvation. Her breath hitched. Blood? Could this mean she would be forced into this ritual? To awaken those ancient forces? Panic clawed at her throat. Suddenly, her reality twisted, shadows spilling across the bookstore floor like liquid darkness. They crawled toward her, their cold touch clawing at her sanity. What have I done? She breathed, stumbling back, her heart thudding like a war drum. The pages fluttered violently in response, a tempest of words swirling around her, a call for something she couldn't even begin to understand. She gripped the book tighter, the leather etched with peculiar symbols that pulsated under her touch. Then she felt a surge from the depths of the store, a presence that sent her tumbling toward the shelves. A voice, low and raspy, threaded through her thoughts with a chilling clarity. "You're close, Marissa, so very close. Who are you?" She called out, her voice trembling as she braced against a nearby shelf. Silence filled the air like a heavy fog, and for a moment, all she heard was the thump of her heart. Just then, the lights flickered, plunging the room into deep shadows. Shadows that expanded and contorted. Something cold wrapped around her ankles, and she gasped, looking down to find a dark mist coiling around her feet, pulling her toward an abyss at the heart of the book. She had a choice to make. Tear herself away and run, or face the terrifying truths lurking in the depths and perhaps discover who she was meant to become. In that moment, she felt the book pulse again, an insistent heartbeat, a promise and a curse intertwined. And then, another voice whispered, so faint, "You must choose wisely, chosen one." What would she decide? A reckoning loomed large on the horizon, and Marissa stood at the center of a storm she could never comprehend. The question hung in the thick air of the bookstore, echoing like a distant thunderclap: would she dare to summon the forgotten? Marissa's heart raced, the shadows tightening their grip around her ankles as dread wrapped around her mind like a vice. She could feel the cool mist creeping upward, mixing with her rising panic. "This can't be happening," she murmured, fighting the urge to scream. The book pulsed again, and the harsh whisper flooded her ears: "Embrace the darkness, it will guide you." "No. I can't," she cried, desperation thrusting her voice into the air fractured by tension. With a sudden surge of will, she tore her gaze from the ominous text and yanked her legs free from the grasping mist. The moment she stepped away, the shadows recoiled, as if stung, but it wasn't enough. The whisper moved closer, entwining itself with her thoughts, insidious and cold. "You cannot escape your destiny, Marissa. The ancients await." Marissa staggered backward, nearly tripping over her own feet. She needed to breathe, to find clarity in the chaos swirling around her. What truth lay hidden in this book? Were the whispers a warning, or a beckoning? Her instincts pushed her toward the door, to run, but another part, a more curious and reckless side, yearned for the answers buried deep within those pages. Casting a defiant glance back at the tome, she fought to steady her pulse, pushing aside the encroaching shadows. In a sudden burst of courage, she dashed toward the table and slammed the book shut. The sudden silence felt almost deafening, a stark contrast to the cacophony of fears that had threatened to consume her. With the latch of intimacy broken, the shadows sighed heavily, drawn back like echoes fading into the night. For a fleeting moment, relief washed over her, she felt almost whole again. But it was short-lived. "Foolish girl," the raspy voice croaked, deeper now, reverberating through the bookstore like an earthquake. "You cannot resist what you are. The blood of the chosen spills in darkness and light. It calls for you, know." She shouted defiantly, her hands trembling. Anguish mixed with anger, igniting a fire deep within. "I will not be part of this. Not a pawn in your game." "Then seek the truth," the voice taunted, an echoing laughter ringing as the lights flickered again, dancing like flames hungry for air. "Run if you wish, but the storm is coming. Choose wisely, Marissa." Her legs shook, but she felt a tug, an undeniable urge to learn more. Maybe facing the whispers was the only way to break free of their hold. Glancing toward the door, she hesitated, her mind racing between the safety of flight and the allure of discovery. What if she was truly meant for this? Was there a chance she could control the darkness instead of succumbing to it? A flicker of hope stirred within her chest, battling the fear. Taking a deep breath, Marissa turned back to the book one last time. If I'm to face whatever darkness awaits, I need to know what I'm dealing with first. As she felt the book's spine beneath her fingers, the shadows danced eagerly, growing bold as if sensing her decision. She opened it again, and this time, her resolve hardened. The pages came alive, words swirling in an intoxicating deluge. She read feverishly, her heart pounding, uncovering incantations and spells, each one heavy with meaning. Among them lay a chill that felt like destiny. And then, amidst it all, she found it an incantation intended to shield her from the entity's grasp. Perfect, she whispered, her pulse quickening with a mix of fear and anticipation. But the words didn't just reveal a protective barrier, they hinted at hidden truths about the ritual itself, about the blood, the sacrifice, and a choice more colossal than she had ever imagined. "Marissa, are you ready?" The voice returned, now layered with a frantic edge. Her pulse thrummed in her ears as she prepared to unravel the tangled web of her existence. As the shadows surged, intertwining with her very essence, Marissa braced herself. Would she succeed in wielding the power to thwart the darkness or unleash it? The answers loomed ahead, but what awaited her was a truth that would irrevocably change her world. Would she invoke the ritual? The storm outside erupted into chaotic fury, drowning her in uncertainty. And deep within that echoing silence, a question clung to the air: would she become the savior or the harbinger of doom? The words slipped off the page as Marissa's breath caught in her throat. She felt the room close in on her, the shadows creeping closer, as if drawn by a magnet. Every syllable pulsed in time with her racing heart, and an overwhelming sense of urgency washed over her. "Sacrifice," she whispered, her voice barely audible against the rising storm outside. "What does it mean?" The air thickened, electrifying her skin. She focused, digging deeper into the text. It spoke of blood and binding, of ancient promises made under the weight of night. As she read, a chilling realization struck her. The ritual demanded more than just intent, it called for a life. "No, it can't be," she breathed, her stomach twisting in knots. Her fingers traced the words, but she felt the weight of them crushing her spirit. This was beyond understanding, it was a demand for destruction. A loud crack of thunder shook the bookstore, rattling the shelves. Marissa jumped, her heart hammering. "I won't hurt anyone." "Does it hurt?" The voice sprang back, slick with amusement. "To know the truth. It will make you stronger. Embrace it. Your fear is a mere shadow, never to take form if you choose wisely." "Wise?" She spat defiantly, hot anger flooding her veins. "This isn't wisdom, it's manipulation." The shadows pulsed in response to her fury, wrapping around her like a serpent eager to squeeze. The intensity twisted in her chest, a tidal wave threatening to crash into her. "You were chosen for a reason, Marissa," the voice murmured, softer now, as if it were beneath her skin, coiling around her heart. "The ancients have plans for you. You'll be revered, a beacon among darkness." "Or a monster," she shot back, the defiance shaking her frame. "What kind of choice is this?" "Necessary," the voice replied, a dark cadence seeping into the very air. "You will learn. You will become something greater than human. But first, the sacrifice must be made and the choice is yours. You can either lift the veil or become lost in the shadows forever." Marissa clenched her fists. Doubts gnawed at her, she felt cornered. Yet, a fragment of curiosity sparked her ambition. What if there was a way to wield the darkness without being consumed? Holding on to it like a lifeline, she pushed the terror aside. The moment crystallized as she faced the book once again, words blazing like a brand on her soul. "If I'm meant for this, I need to know everything," she declared, her resolve hardening. "Show me what I must do." "Ah, but there is a price," the voice sang, playful yet sinister. "There always is. Will you pay it?" Another crack of thunder ripped through the night, and the walls seemed to quiver, the shadows leaning in with insatiable hunger. Marissa felt a swell of power building within her, a rush of heat that pulsed with her heartbeat. She clutched the book tighter, as if it were her only anchor in a storm that threatened to consume her. "Tell me," she demanded. A strange laugh echoed in the corners of her mind, mingling with the rising winds outside. "Very well, Marissa. One final incantation to truly know what lies within. But heed my words, for once you step into this world, there is no turning back." She nodded, breathless determination flaring in her chest. "Swear your allegiance to the shadows," it whispered, the voice sliding into the depths of her consciousness. "Accept the darkness with you." "Only if I can control it," she replied fiercely, her breath coming harder now. The shadows surged, snapping together, an electrifying embrace that tingled over her skin. "Then take the step, for the storm is here." As the words slipped from her lips, the shadows roared around her, filling the space with an oppressive darkness. Marissa felt her essence waver, challenged by the storm within and without. Could she wield the very tides of fate? And as the winds howled and the shadows twisted, a profound silence settled within her, a threshold waiting to be crossed, urging her onward into the abyss. What choice awaited her next? And at what cost? The shadows closed in, wrapping around Marissa like a cloak of night, squeezing the air from her lungs. She gasped, a palpable cold creeping into her bones as the words from the book pulsed hot against her fingertips. They felt alive, a tangle of energy racing through her, sparking confusion and fear in equal measure. "I'm ready," she said, though her voice trembled, straining to sound resolute against the chorus of thunder crashing outside. "Show me." The shadows shimmered, and the room warped, a kaleidoscope of swirling darkness surrounded her, descending into a pit of unearthly vision. Images flashed before her, distorted figures writhing in agony, faces twisted in fear, and gnarled hands raised in supplication. Each scene pulled her deeper, taunting her with their fractured screams. "Welcome to the truth, Marissa," the voice purred, a hint of delight gracing its dark tones. "Those are the consequences. Sacrifices that have been made to feed the hunger of the ancients. Do you see their faces? They were as you are now, full of potential, naive to the cost. Will you join them in their eternal torment or rise through the ashes?" Heart thundering, she wanted to look away, to shut her eyes and block it all out, but something kept her staring. The darkness wasn't just horror, it was raw power, a volatile energy that promised strength beyond comprehension. Her mind raced as she wrestled with choices, each one igniting her sense of self-preservation. "What happens if I choose to turn back?" she shouted into the void, her voice swallowed by the silence. "What'll they do to me?" "That choice is not yours, Marissa," the voice replied, laughter lacing its tone. "You walk a path forged by fate. Turn back. The shadows don't forget, and they'll welcome your departure with open arms, an offering of betrayal." Desperation clawed at her throat. She was not a pawn, not some lost soul to be consumed in darkness. "I will not be their puppet." Her words reverberated through the storm, shaking the ground beneath her. Determined, she steeled herself. "I'll take the power, but I will control it." "Control," the voice hissed, crowning her resolve with venom. "Oh, but can you? For that would require understanding both the light and the dark. You must face your deepest fears, confront who you truly are. Only then can you hope to master what you've called forth." With that, the shadows adorned her in their night-hued embrace, merging with the very essence of her being. Pain shot through her as if 1,000 needles pierced her skin, branding her with dark power. She screamed, her voice echoing in the suffocating void. Moments stretched. How long had she been suspended in this chaos? She felt the energy ebb and flow, a relentless tide, battling within her, fierce and unyielding. Then, a sudden jolt, clarity breaking the haze. An image formed, violent and vivid, a child's laughter cut unnervingly through her drumming heart. She froze, heart stuttering. No, not that, but there it was, vivid as day. A little girl with dark hair, twirling in sunlit fields, her laughter a haunting melody enveloped in joy. The memory crashed over her like glass, shattering her defenses. "Get out!" she screamed, clutching her head, desperate to banish the rising burning image of innocence from her mind. "I won't let you use that against me." But the shadows pulsed, recognizing her anguish, twisting and roaring with fury, threatening to draw her deeper into a darkness she wasn't ready to embrace. "Ah, but this is only the beginning," the voice murmured, darkly playful, as the room began to swirl and shift again. "You will find what you seek. Embrace it, or seek the path backward." Panic gripped her. Could she really conquer the demons lurking within? Was the child an echo of her past, a past she desperately wanted to protect? As the storm escalated outside, a cold sweat broke across her brow. What lay ahead in the depths of her own forsaken heart? Could she master both the light and the darkness, or would the shadows consume her completely? The walls trembled dangerously, and a crack of lightning illuminated a malignant smile that flickered across her vision. In that moment, Marissa knew she stood at a precipice, and what choice she made next would define her very essence. What would she find in that abyss? And were the shadows truly as hungry as they seemed? The energy surged within Marissa like a storm, each pulse threatening to tear her apart. She felt the essence of the shadows entwine with her, whispering promises and peril in equal measure. The laughter of the little girl echoed incessantly, a cruel reminder of what she might lose. "No!" she shouted, desperation clawing at her throat. "You can't use her against me." And yet, the figure of the child danced at the edges of her mind, a flickering flame she simply couldn't extinguish. Her heart raced, visceral memories sliding through her like daggers. Every moment spent in slumbering solace now felt like a betrayal. Pain surged in waves, a relentless reminder of the choice she had made. "Embrace your fear, Marissa," the voice purred, delightfully sinister. "Remember the light, and the shadows will bend to your will." With each word, the shadows swelled, their inky tendrils curling around her limbs. The stench of decay seeped into her lungs as the visions magnified around her, amplifying the horror yet darkly beautifying it all the same. Marissa gasped, feeling her sanity slipping through her fingers like sand. She stumbled back, almost losing the grip on the crumbling floor beneath her feet. "You're twisting me!" she screamed, fighting against the grip of dread tightening around her. "I'm not one of your lost souls. Yet, aren't you?" The voice hissed, dangerously intimate. "Look around you, feel it, you are one with the shadows now. They are your kin. You cannot flee from your own reflection." Anger flared in her chest, igniting her spirit. "I refuse to be defined by fear," she yelled, feeling raw power surge through her veins. The shadows recoiled momentarily, almost surprised by her ferocity. "I will show you the truth," she declared. The shadows quivered as if in anticipation. "I will not be the one consumed." In that moment, channels of energy erupted from her, coursing like molten fire, casting shards of light into the gloom. Instantly, the shadows shrieked, twisting grotesquely, a cacophony of despair that reverberated through the void. Marissa could feel it, their desperation, their fury. They were fighting back, intent on dragging her down into the abyss. Suddenly, the beastly laughter faded, revealing a stagnant silence that pressed on her like a weight. The shadows twisted and morphed, revealing faces she recognized from her past. Friends. Family. Those she had longed to protect. "Stop it!" Marissa cried, overwhelmed by emotion. "Get away from them." But it was too late, the memories surged forth, unleashing raw emotion that cut deeper than any blade. Images replayed in vivid detail, heart-wrenching moments where she had failed them. The little girl, laughter fading to echoes of sobbing, crumpled in the corner of her mind, begging for shelter. "Is this what you truly fear?" The voice taunted, cruel and intimate like a lover's betrayal. "The pain of your choices? Or have you merely returned to the comfortable embrace of weakness?" "No. I won't let you manipulate me." Marissa felt a fresh wave of determination. The rage she summoned didn't just stave off despair, it fueled the fight. I'm reclaiming my strength. With an explosive cry, she focused her energy, weaving a tapestry of light between herself and the shadows. Luminescent strands shattered the darkness, casting it away. For the first time, she resisted. The entity howled, a chaotic symphony of rage and despair echoing in retaliation. Marissa felt the shadows writhe, terrified by the light she wielded. But could she maintain it? What if the shadows struck back, seeking to cover her in their unyielding embrace once more? As her power erupted in waves, the storm howled outside, rattling the very fabric of her reality. Would she break free from this bind, or would she perish under the weight of her own creation? Marissa felt herself tottering on the brink, the balance between herself and the consuming dark shifting precariously. She wondered, as the shadows began to reshape themselves into monstrous forms, had she merely exchanged her shackles for another set, just as heavy? Will you embrace your darkest truth? The voice hissed again, now shifting to an ominous whisper. Or will you allow the shadows to consume you utterly? The moment hung, vibrating with palpable tension. What choice lay before her? In this dance with darkness, would she emerge victorious, or become ensnared forever in a nightmare of her own making? The shadows quivered, their monstrous forms darting closer, blurring the edges of Marissa's vision. Her heart raced, pounding against her ribs like a wild animal desperate to escape. This was not just a battle of wills, this was life and death, light and darkness, hope and despair. Fight them. A memory from her childhood screamed. It was her mother's voice, filled with warmth and strength. You have the light, Marissa. Use it. She clung to that memory, every detail flooding her mind, the soft glow of candlelight, the scent of lavender that curled around her mother like an embrace. The memory sparked something deep within her. With a roar that echoed off the crumbling walls, Marissa summoned all her strength. Get away from my past. She yelled, directing her energy towards the shadowy figures. Tendrils of light erupted from her hands, striking like lightning. The shadows recoiled, screams jagged and piercing, dread hanging thick in the air. But they weren't finished. With terrifying speed, the darkness regrouped, morphing into an overwhelming wave of blackness that engulfed her. Panic surged through Marissa, a cold tide threatening to drown her light. Stay strong, she whispered to herself, feeling the shadows claw at her sanity. Even as despair clutched at her heart, she pushed forward, determination sparking her veins anew. I am more than my fears. A brilliant flash exploded around her, scattering darkness in a breathtaking display of light. The walls trembled, shifting as vibrant colors seeped into the void, illuminating her surroundings like a sunrise dispelling night. Powerful, aren't we? The voice crooned, its tone slipping between mockery and admiration. But can you keep it up? You won't last long against the truth of your heart. With those words, the shadows morphed again, morphing into the faces of those she'd lost, an unsettling parade of memories. Each face twisted in pain and betrayal, vivid and haunting. The little girl stood there, silent, watching with eyes that swallowed her whole. Marissa, the child whispered, her voice echoing in the cavernous depths of despair. Why didn't you save me? Guilt sliced through Marissa like a blade. No. I want to let you twist my truth. I chose to fight for you. Her voice trembled but remained resolute, wrapping her in a mantle of strength. The shadows shrieked, thundering in one last desperate attempt to drag her into their suffocating depths. Marissa felt the darkness clutch at her throat. No. I will not be silenced. Drawing in a deep breath, she closed her eyes, envisioning the light as a shield surrounding her, pulsating with life. I embrace my strength. She proclaimed, channeling every ounce of love she felt for the little girl, for those she had lost, channeling it all into one incandescent blast of energy. The explosion sent shockwaves through the air, blasting the shadows back as they howled in fury, dissolving like smoke in the fierce currents of luminous energy. Marissa opened her eyes to a flickering world, the landscape of horrors distorting around her, trembling under the power of her resolve. But as pieces of the shadows began to shred and dissipate, something else stirred beneath, an ancient force awakening, rippling through the remnants of darkness like an approaching storm. "What have you done?" The voice screeched, but her focus narrowed. Something darker was taking shape, a new threat rising from the ashes of what she had destroyed. Would this new danger consume her light? Would victory slip through her fingers like the light of dawn fading into dusk? Her pulse quickened, fear mingling with exhilaration, as she wondered just how deep this darkness ran. And before she could regain her composure, the air thickened with an energy that vibrated with ominous promise, calling to her like a siren. Had she merely unleashed a deeper horror within the shadows, one that waited for the opportune moment to strike? The ground began to quake, and with a gut-wrenching tremor, the birthplace of evil reared its head once more. What lay beneath the surface, hidden from her sight, was something she could never have anticipated. The haunting silence saturated her senses, and a chill snaked down her spine. Marissa steeled herself, unwilling to break. "I will confront you," she shouted into the void, welcoming the challenge. But as the darkness writhed and twisted, expanding with threatening intent, she could only wonder, was she truly prepared to face the truth that might unravel everything she held dear? The shadows surged, twisting like raging serpents, their shapes contorting unnaturally under the weight of Marissa's defiance. Her heart pounded fiercely, each beat a clarion call, urging her to stand firm against the encroaching terror. But something dark and ancient echoed behind the shadows, drawing her in with a seductive whisper that curled around her thoughts. "You have disturbed a power beyond your comprehension," the cold voice purred, dripping with a malice that set her teeth on edge. "Who do you think you are to confront what has existed since time began?" Clenching her fists, Marissa's mind raced. "I am not afraid of you. I will face whatever's coming." She forced herself to breathe through the growing dread, remembering the warmth of her mother's encouragement. That warmth felt distant now, but it fueled her resolve like a flickering candle against the night. But as the darkness pulsed, a chilling laughter rang out, reverberating off the stony walls. "Face it. You barely survived the echo of your past. What will you do when the truth of your reality unfolds before you?" With each taunt, the ground shook beneath her feet, the walls vibrating as if they were alive, eager to consume her. Marissa's breath caught in her throat, as light flickered and dimmed. She felt the very air around her grow heavy, stifling hope, as waves of anguish surged from the shadows, each crash a reminder of her failures, each echo a stab at her heart. "No!" she cried, battling against an unshakable sense of defeat. "I will not succumb to your lies." She focused, gathering what remained of her strength, drawing from the memories of laughter, joy, the moments of love that existed within her soul. If this darkness wanted her to give in and cower, it would find that she had no plans of surrender. Suddenly, the shadows lunged again, a mass of darkness erupting toward her, but this time she was ready. Marissa conjured her light, letting it burst forth like a supernova. Brightness sizzled through the air like electricity, splitting the shadows in half. Yet as they recoiled, what emerged from the darkness both astounded and terrified her. A figure took shape, a silhouette defined by power and malice, a creature of eldritch proportions, skin rippling like oil. It stepped into the fractured light, its eyes glowing like molten gold, surveying her with a cruel curiosity. "What a brave little moth," it rasped, each word laced with venom. "You think you can stand against me?" Instinctively, Marissa stepped back, her confidence teetering at the sight of this entity whose presence dulled her light. "Get away from me!" she spat, raising her arms, channeling her energy like she never had before. But doubt snaked into her mind. Was this truly just another shadow? Was it merely a reflection of her pain, or a cruel reality? The creature's laughter was a shattering sound, echoing through the caverns of her heart. "Should I take refuge in your compassion?" it jeered. "You have nothing left but darkness. Accept it." Marissa shook her head fiercely, clenching her fists tight. "You don't own me. I choose my light despite my darkness." The words felt foreign yet empowering, as though they were freshly forged from the molten fires of her soul, but as she pushed forward, the creature lunged, tendrils of shadow reaching out with an impossible speed. Marissa's vision narrowed, her instincts screaming for her to dodge. With a swift sidestep, she barely escaped, but the shadows closed in, surrounding her with liquescent whispers that scraped against her sanity. "Soon, the truth will reveal itself, little sparrow," it taunted, its voice wrapping around her like a coiling serpent. "When the light fades, despair will be your only companion." Marissa felt coldness seep into her bones, fear gripping her once more. She had stood strong against her past, but what of this present threat? Just as she found her footing, she glimpsed a glint of light flickering in the distance. Another chance. Or merely an illusion like the last? The air grew still, heavy with anticipation, and for a fleeting moment, she hesitated. Would she embrace the truth hidden behind the veil of shadows? Or would ignorance free her from this torment, at the cost of her very essence? With resolve rekindling within her, Marissa took a step forward, her heart blazing. "Show me," she demanded, "show me my truth." And as the shadows writhed, something deep and eternal stirred beneath, waiting to be unleashed. The ground trembled beneath Marissa's feet, a deep rumble like a heartbeat of the earth itself. As she stood gripping the edges of her own courage, the shadows twisted and coiled, pulsating with a life of their own. There was no turning back now. Deep down, she could feel the flicker of hope, fragile, yet insatiable, drawing her toward the light. "Embrace the darkness," the creature hissed, the sound slithering into her ears. "What do you truly know about yourself? You've only scratched the surface." Her heart raced, memories flashing in her mind, the warmth of her mother's embrace, the laughter of her childhood friends, all the moments that painted her past with joy. But she had also known sorrow, loss, the weight of expectations that had threatened to crush her spirit. Was it that sorrow, her former grief, that fueled the creature's cruel taunts? No. Marissa shouted, shaking her head briskly. "You don't get to define me." With a surge of determination, she steadied herself, arms outstretched like wings. Marissa summoned every scrap of light within her, feeling it build, a warm glow radiating from her core. The brilliance cast away some of the consuming shadows, illuminating the contours of the grotesque visage before her. The creature recoiled momentarily, but its laughter rose like a storm, drowning out her voice. "Pathetic," it barked. "How naive to think your light can withstand the suffocating dark. Let us see if you truly can confront what lies in the depths of your being." Marissa felt the shadow's grip tighten, around her wrists at first, then winding around her ankles, drawing her toward the ravenous darkness beneath. The coldness seeped into her flesh, freezing her resolve. Panic pressed against her chest, but she refused to yield. She found strength in the flickering light, imagining it growing, illuminating the truth hidden in the depths of her heart. "What do you want from me?" she cried, her voice laced with desperation, the shadows swirling with anticipation. "What truth are you hiding?" "Only what you fear most," it whispered playfully, every syllable dripping with malice. "Your regrets, your failures. Let them and they will set you free." With a swift movement, Marissa wrenched her energy back to her, light flaring anew, furious and wild like a storm unleashed. The shadowed tendrils shrieked in protest, recoiling as she stood taller, grounding herself against the rising tide. The more she shone, the clearer her memories emerged. Silhouettes of lost friends drifted through her thoughts, their faces a mixture of warmth and regret. Each flicker of their smiles ignited a pulse of energy. They had felt lost too, they had faced their own battles. But through it all, they had held on to that thread of hope. That was her truth, a collective strength born out of shared pain and survival. "Together, we can fight," she murmured, summoning their spirits in her heart. The air buzzed, a vibration threading through her limbs, as if the memories solidified into something tangible. "Stop this!" the creature screeched, but Marissa didn't relent. The glow from her light swelled, a beacon now, pushing back against the darkness that encircled her. Tendrils of shadow writhed and flailed, desperate to regain their hold. In the midst of the chaos, Marissa felt something shift. A fragment of truth slipped through the shadows, and with it, an echo of dread. It settled deep within her like ice, mingling with the light. The reality of her struggles floated to the surface. "Your despair is your strength," she murmured, "not your downfall." The shadows momentarily faltered, as if stunned by her realization. The light pulsed brighter, igniting whirls of color where darkness had once reigned. But then, in the depths, a darkness darker than the rest stirred, its head rearing like a serpent, sharp fangs glinting ominously. "Foolish girl," it hissed, voice laced with icy fury. "You've merely awakened the true horror. What if your light is but a flicker against the abyss?" Marissa felt a shiver run down her spine. Was she truly prepared to unravel the unknown darkness that now loomed ahead? As the shadows writhed and twisted, the walls of the cavern pulsating with a grotesque rhythm, she steeled herself. This wasn't just a battle against the darkness outside, this was a battle within her soul. If she was to confront the ultimate truth, what depths would she need to descend? And would she survive what awaited her there? With a fierce resolve, she took a deep breath, preparing to dive deeper into her own abyss, heart pounding like a war drum. What lay beneath could shatter her or give her the strength she desperately sought. The room quaked, the storm raging outside mirrored the chaos inside of Marissa. She stood at the center of a tempest that blended shadows and light, bracing herself for the confrontation that would determine her fate. The creature loomed closer, an embodiment of her darkest fears. It twisted through the shadows, a grotesque figure glistening with malice. Each shift of its mass seemed to echo her regrets, whispering painful memories that clawed at her consciousness. "Are you ready to embrace the truth, child?" It hissed, its voice a dark melody that chilled her veins. "You cannot hide from what you are." Marissa felt the weight of its words, heavy and intoxicating. She had wrestled with her past, but this was different. It wasn't just her failures she had to face, but the person she had become in light of them. "No," she whispered, shaking her head fiercely as if to dismiss the darkness closing in. "I am not a shadow, I am light." With that declaration, she reached within, the flickering light within her heart flaring like a beacon against the tempest. The shadows shrieked, recoiling momentarily, allowing her a breath of hope. She felt her memories pulse with strength, the laughter of friends, the warmth of sunlight, the love that had shaped her spirit. This was her ammunition, the love she held close, the pain she had survived. "Your joy will be your downfall." The creature spat, but Marissa felt emboldened. "I will not succumb," she shouted defiantly. "You feed on despair, but I know the power of hope. I will use it against you." The room surged with energy as she gathered herself, channeling every ounce of light she could muster. She felt a tingling in her fingertips, the energy sparking into brilliant arcs like electricity dancing in the storm. The shadows lunged forward, tendrils swirling with fury as they reached for her, but she stood firm, anchoring herself in her resolve. "Leave me be," she cried, the intensity of her voice shattering the darkness momentarily. Then, she released the energy, a torrent of light crashing forth like a tidal wave, illuminating the cavern around her with blinding brilliance. The shadows howled, writhing in pain, fracturing into 1,000 tiny pieces, evaporating into the air like mist before the morning sun, but there was more to come. From those depths, the darkness retaliated, a wailing storm of anguish flooding back, darker than before, erupting in a furious frenzy. Marissa stumbled, the remnants rushing past her like a violent wind. "Foolish girl!" the creature roared. "Your light is fleeting. You will see why the shadows reign supreme." She felt her heart pounding, her breath quickening. This was not just fear, it was desperation, the kind of overwhelming terror that pushed her to the brink. But she refused to falter. Integrating her past with her present, she grounded herself. It was time to reclaim what was hers. With one deep breath, she centered herself. "I am not afraid," she declared, her voice ringing with clarity and strength. As the shadows recoiled from her determination, she seized upon an idea born from all that had come before, the potential for unity, the collective strength bolstered by love. The darkness couldn't snuff out her light, it thrived on isolation, and she recognized the truth that dispelled those very chains. Together within the light, we can rise. I will not fight alone. She shouted, feeling the presence of those she had lost swirl around her, their spirits intertwining with her own. If responding to her call, the light grew stronger, expanding from within her to fill the whole room. The creature shrieked, its form shifting and contorting in an attempt to grasp the light that radiated from her. Shadows danced chaotically, colliding with the brilliance, the once dominant darkness submerging under the relentless tide of brightness. No. You think you can harness their love? It spat. They are lost. They will never help you. Watch me, Marissa responded, feeling the warmth envelop her heart. She carried their laughter, their love, the undeniable truth that they would not be turned into mere echoes, and as she pushed forward, the light exploded forth, obliterating the shadows, calling forth the spirits of her past to rise. The walls shook like an earthquake as the combined strength of light and memory erupted in a radiant burst, dispersing the creature like smoke. An agonizing wail slashed through the air, but Marissa stood resolutely, knowing she was not alone. Goodbye, she whispered, letting the shadows of her past fade into nothingness. The storm outside began to quiet, as whispering rain began to caress her face like a gentle kiss, so different from the tumult that had once threatened to devour her. As the dawn light broke through the clouds, illuminating the bookstore, she felt an overwhelming sense of calm. The ancient weight had lifted, she had faced her darkness, claimed her power, and embraced her truth. Marissa stepped out of the shadows and into the light, ready to forge a new path, knowing she could harness both love and light, however vulnerable that made her feel. The journey had just begun, but she was finally free. But before she left that now familiar place behind, she cast one last glance at the contours of the bookstore. I won't forget you, she promised softly, grateful for the lessons learned, and with confidence blooming in her chest, she stepped across the threshold into a new reality, one where both darkness and light could coexist and where she would reclaim her rightful place. Now, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will stir your soul. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and blast this adventure into the stratosphere. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Marissa's journey. You know we want to hear from you. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion and join our amazing community. Make your voice heard.